Christy just felt parts of her childhood that have been significant and tell their own stories in a kind of way. So, so give it up for Zaidah.
Fellow Toastmasters, guests, ladies and gentlemen. It was funny because 2 days ago I was just blogging about some parts of my childhood, about how I was, the punching bag for some of the bullies. Girls didn't like me so much because I was an overachiever in class, because anything less than an A or a #1 in the class was considered a failure for me. But today, as I was racking my brain, trying to figure out what topic I want to talk about today, there's something from my elementary school experience that I never really got to do, and this pertained to kindergarten. So what I want to tell you guys is going to be about a show and tell. And I'm going to show you something, and you might laugh at me for being a 22-year-old who still has attachments to really silly things, but this one's really special for me. Everyone, meet my teddy bear. Its name is actually Periwinkle, but for simplicity's sake, it's Teddy. And Periwinkle sounds a little bit too girly, to be honest, for me. And for me, this is totally a male bear. And everyone can have a look and see how it's like. I got that in November 2003, right after I finished middle school. I got 8 distinctions, which is equivalent to A's onwards to go to high school, and I pretty much topped my class at that time. And I thought, what would be a really nice gift for myself? Because I wasn't feeling like asking my parents for something too luxurious or anything that's out of their budget, anything that I considered not affordable at that time. So I decided, why not get a bear? I picked that bear when I was just thinking of something that could remind me of success, elegance, and a little bit of my childhood that I think that I missed out. And as you know, its name is Periwinkle. And it's funny because this was a time when people started getting to know Beanie Buddies. I don't know if you guys own any of them, but I thought they were amusing. The catch is that it costs double than those that they actually sell in the United States. So consider having $100 in hand as a 14-year-old, buying a bear that costs $20, just that size. My mom thought it was ridiculous because she thought that I just never grew up. And in 2004, I had the opportunity to go to Beijing, and guess what? Who came along with me? That bear. Teddy actually came with me on board the plane, and somehow he actually got the name Avid Traveler / Frequent Flyer. I know that it's some sort of nickname that you would give to someone who has this sort of jet set life, but believe me, that teddy bear is lucky. And in 2006, I managed to go to a different school towards, junior year of high school, and I started staying away from home. And it was one of those times where I actually had to stay at my uncle's place for about a year, considering that his place was actually closer to the school that I went to. And of course, being a 17-year-old at that time with a bear was still considered probably reasonable. But here's the thing. When I started getting to college, it was the first time ever that I had to leave my family for an extended period of time. I know, I've traveled to Beijing, but that was only about a week. And even if I had to travel for about a week or so and had sleepovers at my cousin's place, that teddy bear still came along with me. And somehow I just feel I've grown to be much more attached to this bear. Not only because it's gone through so much with me, having seen the world, so to speak, but also the fact that it reminds me of peace of home. Now, I know this is not going to be about Teddy the whole time because he's gotten a lot of attention from everybody. Believe me, I just wish I was that lucky. What reminds me so much how this teddy bear comes to be very significant is that it takes me back to a time when my mom actually met my dad. She was 16 and my dad was about 21. I know that's a huge gap difference. And on her 16th birthday, he gave her a white bear, which is about twice of Teddy's size. And it was actually the first bear I've ever gotten in my life. And I remember too, when I was about 2 years old, and it was the first time I traveled with my family, I actually got a giant bear, which was about my size when I was 2. And then now that I'm here in college, and to see that this bear is coming along with me, just reminds me of how far I've gone and how where I'm going to go in the next few years. And I don't know if I'm going to let that teddy bear go. And I even thought of leaving it at some point back home, but I just feel like it's not going to leave me anytime soon. It's gone through so much with me. Sometimes, there are times when I feel a little bit silly, probably borderline crazy, but I talk to that bear and it feels like it understands me a lot. And I also love the fact that the teddy just doesn't give any expressions. So the next time you see it somewhere in the room, you just don't feel like you're creeped out. Like if you think about Chucky from Child's Play, trust me, it won't be like that. It's innocuous. I know there are also times where I feel like I miss home, and sometimes when I cry, this teddy bear would be the first thing I would grab. It's also interesting that when I think about a bear, I also think about this blanket that I bring from home that's actually got a print, like a really ridiculous print of teddy bears. It's funny because I never really thought that I would end up in the United States, but this blanket had a myriad of teddy bears dressed up in different outfits. One was actually a bear in a football suit, together with the helmet and the football itself. Then the other one's got soccer, and the other one's got baseball. It pretty much kind of tells me like where I was going. I know this is going a lot of tangents, but just think of something that you have with you at this very moment that reminds you so much of who you are, who you once were, and what it reminds you of about yourself. And for me, I know this bear may just be a $20 bear, and it's already 8 years old, and I don't know if it's going to be with me for a really long time. God forbid I'm going to leave it in the States. But come to think of it, even the most petty attachments that you have, you might really want to discover why it means so much to you. And as for me, this bear means so much to me only because it's got so much experience with me. And it tells a lot of stories about my life that even by showing it, I can just tell people a myriad of stories as well. Thank you.